scriptures today. Our theme this year is focused on access, quality, and success, and very tied to our new strategic plan, which we'll talk a little bit more as the day progresses. Right now, what I want to do is give you Dr. Padron's apologies. As you know, he is always here at every single convocation. He called early this morning. He is extremely ill and isn't going to be able to make it today. So he wants to send his apologies to everyone, to let you know how much this morning and these events really mean to him, and that you're all gathered together to really talk and work through the most important things that we do here as an institution, which is to serve our students. So with that, I'm going to turn the podium over to Mark Richard, President of UFMDC, who's going to offer us some remarks this morning, particularly to the faculty, who are, as always, on the front line of the work with our students. Mark.
We believe in democracy, so we want to correct Lenore. I am the former president of United Faculty. Liz Ramsey, of course, is my distinguished successor. Good morning. Yes, Liz. In 1972, I walked into this campus, a skinny kid with a, believe it or not, like an afro hairdo with a pick. Yes. As a student on what was then called the South Campus. And then we had, as we do today, a dream about access, a dream about quality, and a dream about success. And when you ask yourself, how does that happen? How do educators, a community of educators, how do we come together to tell any single student, regardless of station, regardless of skills, that they have access to a citadel of higher learning? How do you do that? And how do you tell them that once they get inside this facility, inside this arena, how do we assure them that there is quality in the intercourse, in the discourse, in the exchange? And when they leave, tell them it was worth it, that it becomes part of their fabric of their success. It's not an easy charge. There are a lot of questions about it. How do you do it structurally? How do you do it pedagogically? How do you do it spiritually? Today I want to take my life here from 1972, hired back in 1976 as a part-time professor, 1977 as a full-time professor, 22 years in the classroom, and 20 years out of the classroom, having the honor to serve those in the classroom as the president of the union. And I thought about it a lot. I've thought about this day a lot since January 31st was my last day of my 40 years here at Miami-Dade. I thought about it. Thank you. And there's too many answers, so I'll focus on one. And for lack of a better word, I'll call it the micro moment. And I don't know if it's the least important or the most important. There's probably no way to distinguish it. But there is this special moment that we have with each and every student and with each other that's micro, that's personal, that's just one-on-one, two-on-one, three-on-one. It is just totally social. It is the moment that a faculty member has that honest conversation with a student and tells them their skills are such that they're not going to be a surgeon unless they change something. We never tell them it won't happen, but we have that candid conversation. It's when you look a student in the eye and they're ready to drop out of Miami-Dade, because sometimes our students are literally one broken car, one illness in a family, one loss of their third part-time job, and it takes them off course. And it's that moment a faculty member, a registrar, a moment that a counselor, an administrator, an office clerical and support staff person, the custodian, whatever the title, treats that person a certain way, and they stay, or they leave and they come back. or they leave and never forget us, even if they don't come back, because we touch them somewhere. And it's the moment that someone walks through the book fair and someone says, "Hi, I know you," or you're moving through Publix and the checkout cashier says, "Weren't you my professor?" And I thought about it, and it happened to me. But think about that micro moment. The Nobel Prize in Economics a few years ago went, and I'm going to mess up the terminology, sorry, economists, but it went to this distinguished professor and economist that brought microloans out. And the whole concept was, can you change the world by giving a $3,000 loan to someone in the backlands of Malaysia? Can you do it who wants to literally start a small business or be an entrepreneur making 25 pairs of shoes a day? And the exponential growth and the exponential payback of that microloan was such that, and I'm going to not do service to it, but it was remarkable, and it had a remarkable carryover. Is not our micro moment in the educational arena the same? And I remember sitting and doing registration in the bottom of the Wolfson campus in the bottom floor, and our windows to register were there. And I remember seeing faculty and staff walk a student over to go behind the window, which we were never supposed to do, to get someone to sign a card to let someone in a class that was closed, but they needed it because it was exactly time to get to work. That moment will never, ever, ever leave that student's heart. That's what we do. The person who needs financial aid, and we go the extra step, and they look at you and say, "Wait a minute." And in that silence, their mind is turning because they're thinking of 2 or 3 alternatives to help that student get a Pell Grant or help that student figure out how to get a job. When we first got here at the college, there were more funds. We've just been bled to death by a society that underfunds us and overworks us. But when we got here, we used to have more students on campus. I forgot what they called them. They were positions, partly in need, student assistants, I think we called them. And we used to watch them grow. They would even grow hair on, they like start to shave. They started here so young. And you would see them grow. And then they would graduate. And graduation, people will pull out, back then there were Instamatic cameras. Now it's like, I don't even know what it is. Digital, red eye, blue eye, Blu-ray. And their families would take a picture in front of the fountain, which for 20 years didn't work at our campus, but now it works, the fountain. And they would take a picture of the first generation of a student to graduate from their family, someone that escaped Cuba or took a raft from Haiti or retired here and crumpled their dollars together or paid back a loan, or a government program, oh my goodness, that let them go to college free. And the smile on their face as the father with dirt under his nails because he puts in sprinklers all day, an honorable job like that, to see his daughter and the beam on Abuela's face, to see her grandson graduate. And how does that happen from the moment of access to quality, to success? It's your micro moment. It's that 1 second, 1 minute, 5-minute glance, the assistance. So I look back at myself. When I came here, I was asked to be involved in student activities. I won all these awards. And I remember the professors here, Manny Mendoza, the late Manny Mendoza, looked at me one day. He wasn't even my professor. His roommate was my professor. And we watched an election together. I'm an election junkie. At his apartment on Kendall Drive, and I can't remember. And back then it was okay to invite students to your house. Now it's a liability, you have to have insurance. And so he said to me, and I'll never forget it, he said, "One day you're going to teach at Miami-Dade." I said, "Nah, I think I want to be a lawyer." He says, you'll do both. And he never let me forget, and I never actually took his class until I was at FIU. And then when I finally got through my master's degree, Manny went crazy, called Julio Vello, Bill Stokes, Eduardo, and they all started saying, "You got to go teach here." And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was literally 24 years old. I was actually 22. And at the time, I just didn't know. And then I got don't tell the provost, but I got 12 part-time classes in 1 year. It was like my glove box in my car was my office. And all of them, none of them were on campus. They were at South Dade High School, Ponce Middle School. It was unbelievable. And I was driving, and I was completely in love with it. And the very first full-time class I had, very first one, Wilson campus, when I was full-time a year later, I walked in and I walked out. The students didn't know who I was. I was so scared. I looked and I said, they're older than me. And I breathed and I said, just go do it. It was a social problems class, okay, an SOC, I think. So then we moved, and then I came here, and then I taught, and along the way, the encouragement. And even when we started the union, and we failed 3 times, and we were successful the fourth time, and to take that organization and to meld it into collegiality, quality, success, access. It was an amazing journey, and it's been 40 years. So I want to say 2 last things to you. One is thank you. Do you realize what it is to be a servant, to actually work in the service of the life of the mind? Do you realize what it is to have one safe place, and there's not many left, where you can debate ideas? Do you know what it's like to be the guardian of dreams and the architect of the platform to let someone get there? Do you know what it's like to force intellectual honesty in a day and age? Just turn on your TV, any channel, any party, any politician, any scientific debate, and it's been so perverted now that we can't actually honestly talk about it? Do you know what it's like to cherish the scientific method of query and hypothesis and test it? And do you know what it's like to tell every single person they're invited to this kabuki dance? They're invited and celebrated to this sort of schizophrenia where we have to live life, but we have to actually strive for truth. And we'll let you do it in your way. You chart your own journey. We're scouts, we're shamans. We have no answer except to allow the answer, the question to be asked. You're the guardians of it. And the best way that I can thank you is for you to do something for me. You leave a place always hoping it will be better. You pass a torch because the person who receives it will hold it with a steadier hand than as you left. This is a great place. Take that micro moment and care about each other. Whatever our differences, whatever our debates, whatever our agreements, love each other. Smile when we see each other in any hallway, and even after we have a huge discipline fight today. Hug each other. Care about each other's family. Actually genuinely look at each other in the eye. Do something I rarely do. Slow down, breathe, and just talk. But most of all, defend what we do here. Defend higher education. Be the voice, be the symbol of honesty, be the symbol of academic pursuit. When we say the word access, we are the shepherd of that. When we say the word quality, it is our DNA. And when we say the word success, it's the gift we give to our students. But most of all, make our micro moments count for those we serve and to each other. 40 years later, I leave this place in the hands of people I trust, to people I care about, and to people I love. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark, not just for your comments this morning, for your service to this institution over the past 40 years. You leave a great legacy behind, the work that you've done, the collaboration, that spirit of collaboration that that you leave behind between the administration and the faculty. That connection that we all have of serving our students, I think, is the greatest legacy that you leave behind to this institution, and we thank you. And to our new president, Liz, congratulations. We're looking forward to working with you. We have a lot of work ahead of us. We're an institution with a rich history of really transforming the lives of our students and changing the face of the community that we serve. This year is an exciting year. We're launching a new strategic plan. We're on the verge of a lot of new things. Believe it or not, the Completion by Design grant is in its final stages of actual funding. So all the work that we've been doing with the student achievement initiatives is transforming, it's changing. And as we reach this moment at our institution where there seems to be a lot of change, there's also still a lot of stability, and that stability comes in what we do each and every day, in our students, in this inherent quality that we have of being servants, as Mark put it just a moment ago. And there's a lot more to our institution that meets the eye when you first look at it on the surface. And so today I want to talk about us being an institution of transformers. And so when I was preparing my remarks for this morning, I thought that I would begin by looking at the definition of what a transformer is, and going through the various definitions and how it relates to this point in time where we are now, and what it means to be a transformer at the point in time where you're launching into a new strategic plan, where the national conversation around higher education is changing at a pace that's very difficult to keep up with, when there's such a focus on accountability, on completion, and it seems like the conversation is changing, but it's not, because at the heart of it, it's still the same three things that this institution has always stood for: access, quality, and success. And so when we talk about transformation and change, the terms initiatives, projects, here we go again, come to mind. Everyone all of a sudden says, oh, here's the latest thing, here's the new project, what are they gonna make us work on now? What committee are they going to launch that I now have to be a part of? Am I gonna get released in task points? Is this gonna be part of my committee work? All of those questions start to jump into the fray again. But what I want to propose to everyone is that transformation isn't necessarily a change in what we do, but really a state of being. I think as human beings, especially in the world that we live in, transformation is just part of what we do each and every single day. We create change in the lives of the students that we meet on a daily basis. They change us. The external world changes us. Politics, legislation stepped forth by Tallahassee, for better or for worse. All of those things impact us. And so if we're not transformers, if we don't adapt, if we don't change, if we don't see our role in helping to promote change for the better, change will occur to us whether or not we try and enact change. So whether or not we want it, change happens, and it happens on a constant basis. And so when we launch into a new strategic plan, it's not about changing fundamentally everything we do, it's about evolving to the next step, how we transform into this next phase of the work that we do so that we can augment the really good things we do, try and set aside the things that are not working quite as well, and really focus on what our students need from us. So in the first definition of a transformer, it's something that changes something else. It's enacting a change in the world. When we look at our new strategic plan, one of the key components of it is that we will support and empower students from the moment that they apply to this institution to the time that they complete, not just so that they can get a degree, not so that they just put some letters behind their name, but so that they can make a meaningful change in the world. And we've done a lot of work in this area. We've now created a 3-tiered advisement model where we start reaching out to students while they're still in high school. We work with them when they come to our institution, and then towards the end of their careers here with us, a faculty coach, a mentor, works with them to help them figure out what their next step is. And beyond that, we've become an institution that focuses on how our students are going to impact the community. Mark mentioned the great pride in running into students who remember you as their faculty member, as their advisor. When I gave birth 2 years ago, I had 7 MDC students in the operating room with me, current and former. But seeing that is a sense of pride for us because we see them coming back and making a change in the world. Our work in Ashoka is not just another title, another accolade for the institution. It's at the heart of what we do. Our students, when they come to us because this is their last chance in many ways to really transform themselves and the community that they live in. And what else is education but the ability to give them the knowledge and the power to do just that? It's not about the grade in the course. It's not about whether or not they pass the test. It's not about just the walking down the stage at graduation. It's about the change that occurs in that individual through everything that we do here at this institution. And that's the first thing that we do as transformers. Another definition of transformer is a more scientific one, which is the actual equipment that helps to change current into voltage. It helps to vary voltage. And this is, when we look at it as an institution, when we think about this word in transformer, it's how do we take the knowledge that each and every one of us has as a student services professional, as a faculty member in our respective disciplines, how do we take that knowledge that we have and amp up the quality, convert it into something that the students can absorb, that they can see as something meaningful that's going to change their lives, that they can use to power something in their own life, so that they can power change. We've been working in a number of areas across this institution on changing and improving the quality of our academic programs. We've been looking at new programs that help support some of the emerging industries in our community, trade and logistics, supply chain management, IT, our animation and gaming programs. We have a new baccalaureate in data analytics that hopefully will be approved soon in the state. We're changing with the changing needs of this world in terms of our academic programs. And as an institution, we're becoming more responsive. We're being more strategic about the programs that we open. The faculty have been working to improve the course competencies in the courses to make sure that they're current. We've also been working at looking at non-traditional modes of education. There's a lot of work around prior learning assessments, around competency-based education. And we have a real opportunity there not to supplant the traditional forms of education and what we do in the classroom and what we do in credit-based courses, but to create new pathways for a whole different population of students that we may not have served before, to help give them an entry point into this institution, so that then we can work with them to help give them the tools and the skills that they need to go back out and make a difference. We have a lot of work that we've done in this area, but there's still a lot more that we can do. And as we look at new programs, as we look at new ways of providing education to the students, this is key. And at the heart of our quality is the work of the faculty. The work that you do in the classroom is the single most important factor in a student's time here at Miami-Dade College. The knowledge that you transmit to them, the way that you engage them in the classroom, those pedagogical models that you use. It's not the same generation of students that even I taught a few years ago. They're changing. They have knowledge at their fingertips at the internet. So a lot of times they just look at us, and if all we're going to do is just impart more information on them, that's not going to capture their attention. So how do we transform so that we can engage them, so that we can give them a reason to be in our classroom each and every day, and not just look at our notes or try and find the information on the internet? How do we transform that? And then how do we as an institution support the faculty in that endeavor? And so one of the things that we'll be looking at over the course of the next couple of years is how to augment professional development, how to provide more incentives, more reasons for you to engage in this process of learning with us so that we can better reach out to the students. And then, of course, how can we forget our learning outcomes work? That, at the very end of the day, is what the students leave us with. They might be able to graduate with some very specific skills in their respective areas, but the ability to communicate, the ability to manipulate numerical data, to find information, to be able to think critically and ethically, to be able to appreciate beauty and the environment that we live in, all of those are at the heart of what makes a human being and a good citizen, and one that can take the specific knowledge and skills of their trade and apply them to change the world. And as we go into this year, you'll hear from our Learning Outcomes Assessment Team, from the Learning Outcomes Coordinating Council, on developing a blueprint for assessing the work that we're doing in learning outcomes, for closing the loop, for creating new strategies to help our students attain those outcomes. And as we get to the end of our discussion on the new strategic plan and this idea of transformation, I would be remiss if I didn't just take the obvious visual here and talk about a more modern definition of transformer and take you to the action figures that can transform from a car or a weapon or a vehicle into some kind of action figure. So our strategic plan talk about access, giving students the opportunity to enter into this institution, supporting them from application to completion. We talk about quality, how we improve the experiences that the students have here at this institution so that they can be successful. But our strategic plan is also about our institutional agility. How do we become a better institution, a more dynamic one that can respond to the needs of our students, that can respond to the needs of our community? We have a lot of projects going on in this area. As you know, we're switching to a new ERP. If you haven't seen the emails on MD Connect, please make sure that you do. Training is coming up soon. We'll be completely live in the new ERP come the fall, if everything goes as planned. We have a new IT infrastructure that's being put in place across our campuses, Wi-Fi, newer phone systems. All of that is well and good. But where we have the greatest need to become agile is in our human resources, in each and every one of us here. How do we participate in professional development activities that help us become more responsive to the needs of our students? How do we become Optimus Prime so that we can become adaptable and can convert into whatever it is that our students need? Does our student need a friend? Does our student need an advisor? Does our student need a teacher? Does our student just need an ear to listen to them? Does our student need a vehicle that can help take them from just a student sitting in our classroom to a leader that can change the world? And that really is what each and every one of us is here. We're not just a stationary object that the students interact with. We are a number of different things at any given time for our students. And as we grow as an institution, being able to see that ability within ourselves and be able to create those transformations is key. And with that comes a sense of accountability. What is the work that each and every one of us is responsible for that changes the lives of our students? As an institution, we're facing some very tough times. As you know, the budget that we're receiving from the state has been dwindling over the years. It's been basically static the last couple of years. Doesn't look like it's going to be any bigger next year. There's a big shift from simple state allocations to performance-based funding, which has a huge impact on us. And as those shifts begin to occur, if we're going to survive fiscally as an institution, aside from finding new revenue streams, being more creative in our work with our foundation and resource development, we also have to
figure out how do we help to promote the institution to be able to obtain those performance values that are going to translate into sustainability for the institution. And a lot of times we're afraid of performance. But when we look at performance funding, we look at what we're measuring student outcomes and completion and success. And I think if nothing else, we can agree that we're all here to see our students be successful. No one is here because they just want the students to take one class and disappear. We all really want to transform them. We want them to complete their degrees. And so what's our role? What's our role in ensuring that the students enroll in our institution? What's our role in ensuring that we retain them, that they continue to take courses with us, so that one day they cross the stage at graduation with the knowledge and the skills to change the world? Every one of us has a role there. And so as you go through today, as you go through the different workshops, as you go through the design sessions, I would challenge you to think, what is my role, my individual role? What can I do to make a difference? And how do I hold myself accountable? Not how does my chairperson hold me accountable, how does my director hold me, how do I hold myself accountable for meeting the needs of my student in my classroom, in my advisement office, as a chairperson, as a director, as a campus president, as a provost? What is my role? To finish my presentation, I had wanted to do something, that would leave everybody with an impression. And I decided I was going to do a little animation at the end and gave myself a crash course in morphing images. Yeah, it was interesting. So one of the things I learned, actually, that kind of matches up to, and do not expect anything glorious, because like I said, I did this at the last minute, taught myself how to do it, but it'll get the message across anyway. One of the things that I learned when you're morphing images, and you've seen this, right? It started with the Michael Jackson video many years ago, and the different faces morph into each other. What I learned is that the basics of the technology behind it is that you have to connect the dots. So you have your first picture where you're starting, and then you have the final picture that you want to get to. And on the application, you connect the dots. And so you put a dot in one place, and where on the last picture you want that dot to be, and you continue through until you've got like all these dots covering your picture. You push a button, and then it morphs. And as I was doing that, initially it was just an image to leave you with, but as I went through the process, I realized that it's what we do. It's starting where we are today as an institution and figuring out what are the dots that we have to connect in order to transform ourselves into what we want our students to be. And so if someone can run the animation. Is it running? I can't see it from here. So as an institution, it's how do we take what we are intrinsically and convert it into student success? And that really is what we're here to do. It's to see our students be successful, to see them change the world. So as you go through today, don't think about the new strategic plan, don't think about the work that you're doing as just another initiative, just another thing that we have to do. It's the work that we do each and every day. We are transformers. We're here to transform ourselves, our students, and the work that they do. Thank you.
So thank you very much. The first session starts at 9:30, and so you have plenty of time to get there. Consult your schedules. We emailed them, and we have paper copies in the front if you've misplaced that email. Have a wonderful day. See you at lunch.